Hi, everyone, and welcome to Uncle Yemi Reacts. Today, I will be reacting to this video that I saw. Somebody very close to me sent me this video. What happens to promiscuous women after 35? The truth behind the I'm ready now phase. So, without much ado, let's get into it straight away and action.
I want to talk about a specific phenomenon. You've seen it. You might even be living through it right now. It's the I'm ready now phase. You meet a woman, she's 34, 36, maybe 38. She's had her fun, she's traveled, she's found herself through a decade of casual encounters and low commitment flings. And suddenly, like a light switch was flipped, she is the most marriage minded, family oriented person you've ever met. She's ready to settle down. She's ready for the house, the dog, and the picket fence. But here is the uncomfortable truth that a lot of women don't want to admit, and a lot of men are too afraid to voice. Readiness is not the same thing as transformation. Just because a woman is ready to occupy the
So, first and foremost, I love what you said. Readiness is not the same thing as transformation. Readiness. And it's true. You might think you're ready for something. It doesn't mean that you've been transformed to be able to occupy and relish and dwell and excel in that thing that you said you are ready for.
role of a wife doesn't mean she has become the woman who can actually sustain that role, or more importantly, that she is choosing you out of a genuine burning desire. If you're a man sitting across from a woman in this phase, you have to ask yourself a very difficult question. Are you being chosen because of who you are, or are you being settled for because of what time it is?
So I'll just go into that. Are you being chosen because of who you are, or because of what time it is? So she's talking about who you are, the man that you've become. Basically, the money, your energy, your attention, and your time, and how you've spent those things to become the man that you are, an attractive person now, somebody of status, somebody who's going somewhere in life. So is that why that she's decided to be with you long term, or because of what time it is? But I'll let her continue to explain what time it is.
Let's talk about the biology first. We can pretend it doesn't matter all we want, but nature doesn't care about our social progress. There is a specific day for many women in their mid-30s. I call it the doctor day. You go in for a routine checkup, and for the first time, the tone changes. The doctor stops asking if you're using protection and starts asking if you've considered freezing your eggs. They start using words like geriatric pregnancy and precipitous decline. It's a cold, hard slap in the face. For 10 or 15 years, you felt like time was infinite. You felt like you could always push the family button later. But suddenly, you're looking at a countdown clock that is ticking loudly in a very quiet room. This triggers a biological panic. It's not an emotional shift, it's a survival shift. The urgency you see in a woman after 35 isn't always a sudden realization of love. It's the realization that the window for her biological legacy is slamming shut.
So this one is a bit controversial, but she's right. She's right. There is something called geriatric pregnancy, and it tends to happen after 35. So the quality of the eggs tend to diminish after the age of 35 from a biological standpoint. So she is right. And yes, many doctors and gynecologists will definitely attest to this. And it's been proven, beyond debate.
She isn't looking for a soulmate anymore. She's looking for a teammate before the game ends. And while that biological clock is ticking, the dating market is shifting underneath her feet. This is the part that's brutal to experience. When you're 22, 25, even 28, the attention is constant. It's like air. You don't even think about it because it's always there.
The attention is constant. Yes, 22 to 28, 22 to 29. A lot of young ladies get a lot of attention, and rightfully so. Their peak beauty, beautiful peak of attention, because a lot of men are attracted to young women, young, beautiful women. And that's where the peak years are. And it's not always going to last. Nothing lasts forever. Male or female, we both have the things that make us attractive, but it's for a limited period. That's the key thing here. Limited period.
Men are constantly vying for your time. You have the luxury of being picky, of being dismissive, of ghosting a perfectly good guy because he didn't give you enough sparks or butterflies. But go into a bar or jump on an app at 37 and you'll notice a silence you've never heard before. The men who once chased you, the high-value, established men you now feel you deserve, they aren't looking at you. They're looking at the 26-year-olds. Why wouldn't they? They have the resources and they want the same thing you suddenly want, a family and a future with the lowest biological risk. The options narrow quietly. It's not like a big explosion. It's just a slow evaporation.
So let me just break that down. For the low biological risk that she's talking about, she's saying like a 26-year-old or maybe even a 24-year-old lady has lesser biological risk. Her eggs are not at that level of being frozen, or the quality of the eggs hasn't gone down, and she can possibly even have 2 or 3 children if that's what that man desires to have. Of course, she has the desire to have it as well, but somebody who's over the age of 35 doesn't have that luxury of saying, I want to have 2 children, 3 children. It doesn't just happen as frequently, and definitely at a higher risk than somebody who is in her 20s, especially mid-20s. That is another biological fact.
And in that silence, those nice, stable men, the ones she used to call boring or friends, suddenly start to look like the most attractive thing on the planet. But you have to ask, did her taste in men actually change, or did her options just run out? If the boring guy is suddenly the perfect guy, is it because she finally values his stability, or because he's the only one left who is willing to provide it? Now, we have to talk about the psychological toll of a promiscuous past. This isn't about morality. I'm not here to judge anyone's body count. I'm talking about brain chemistry and emotional bonding. When a woman spends a decade engaging in casual sex, she is essentially training her brain to pair bond and then break that bond over and over again. After a while, a numbness sets in. You lose the ability to be truly wowed by a man. You start to compare every new partner to the best.
Yeah, and what she's saying is very true. Like, what's so special about the new person after 35? If you've been dating from the age of 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, all the way to 35, and those dates have not materialized into anything long term, it gets to a stage where you lose that wow factor. That wow factor is not there anymore because it's not special. It's not special. And what are the chances that she's going to be able to pair bond with this man for the rest of her life when she didn't do it at the time where she had so many options, where people were just coming and coming and coming and coming and coming? So that makes sense to me as well.
Parts of the 20 men who came before him. This guy has the stability of Dave, but he doesn't have the excitement of Mark, and he isn't as funny as Chris. She ends up with what I call comparison disease. It makes it...
And you know what comparison is? Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. When you're constantly comparing, oh, this person has this person's features, but that person doesn't have this person's bank account, and that person doesn't have this person's excitement level, and this person isn't as tall, and this person isn't as light, and this person isn't as spiritual, and you just keep on going round and round into oblivion.
Incredibly difficult to bond deeply with a husband because she's always looking for the phantom limbs of her past. When she finally says yes to a commitment at 38, it's often a logical decision, not a passionate one. She's checking boxes. He's kind, he's stable, he'll be a good father. But the raw, unadulterated desire, the kind she gave away for free to the guys who didn't even know her last name in her 20s, that's often gone. There can be a deep, hidden resentment in these marriages. She resents him because he's the solution to her timeline.
So she resents him because he's the solution to her timeline. That timeline is the what she's talking about from the age of 35. So you are the one that is just going to come in and solve my problem of childbirth or long-term relationship that would lead to marriage, not the person that I really wanted to be with. But the question is, the chances you had to be with the person that you really wanted to be with, what did you do with those chances? That is the real question in the room.
Not the man of her dreams, and he senses it. He feels like a utility, not a desired man. He's the guy who pays for the wedding and the mortgage, but he's getting a version of her that is emotionally exhausted. You see, there's a massive difference between early commitment and late urgency. When a woman commits in her early 20s, she's usually doing it because she can't imagine her life without that man. It's desire driven. When she does it at 36 after a wild decade, it's necessity driven. She needs a landing strip because she's running out of fuel. In her mind, she thinks she's being strategic. She thinks she's positioning herself. You'll see behavioral patterns emerge, sudden performative femininity. She'll start cooking, talking about how much she loves traditional values, and becoming very defensive about her past. If you ask about her history, she'll call you insecure or tell you that the past doesn't matter.
Oh, of course, the past matters. Of course, the past matters. It does matter. It'll always matter because it's the blueprint of your relationship history. So the same way, it's just like going to a company and saying the past doesn't matter. You're going for a senior position, and there's nothing in your CV or there's nothing in the interview that suggests that you can take accountability, you can take responsibility, and you can lead. And now you want them to give you this high-powered job where you're leading thousands of people, you're leading hundreds of people. When you've not had a track record of leading people, they're not going to give you the job. Same thing in a relationship. You need to have a track record. What have you done? Who have you been with? And if you're being too defensive about it, there's something there that needs to be explored. And the man has to be very careful before deciding to pair bond and move on fully. Well, if you want to proceed, of course, you have to proceed at your own risk.
But it does matter because she is giving you a different version of herself than she gave the world. She gave the world her youth, her spontaneity, and her peak beauty for nothing. And she's asking you to pay the highest price, commitment, resources, and your name for her ready now phase. I've seen women who truly change. It happens, but it requires a level of radical accountability that most people aren't capable of. A woman who has changed doesn't pressure a man into a timeline. She doesn't hide from her past. She owns the consequences of it. She is patient. She understands that she has to earn the trust of a good man because she spent years being untrustworthy with her own heart. Most women, however, just reposition. They move the goalposts. They try to rebrand themselves for the marriage market. Men, I want to speak to you directly for a second.
So before we listen to her speak to men and address the men, this is powerful. First and foremost, I just found out about this channel, this lady who is doing this video, and I find this absolutely incredible content as she's done here. I'll put a link in the description so you can see the full video without my my review. Hopefully you like my review, and hopefully you subscribe and share and even leave a comment. That would be great. But back to her, the way she's speaking, I like the fact that she excuse me. I love the fact that she's not doing the morality thing. She's not trying to be preachy. She's not talking about religion. She's putting it with facts. She's talked about the pair bonding issue. She's talked about biology. She's talking about things that can be fact checked. She's not just speaking from an emotional standpoint. She's not bashing women. She's not glorifying men. She's just speaking facts. She's saying after a certain age, it is harder. And she's saying the reasons why it's harder. And she's also saying the reason for women at this age also trying to settle down may not be what you think they are, which is it might not be what you think they are settling down for is not what they are settling down for. Essentially, she's saying the timeline and the biology is the most important factor here. However, she did also mention that there are some women that have been able to change and be transformative, but that involves a high level of radical accountability, which most people, not just women, women and men, it is very difficult for you to hold yourself accountable and say, I was wrong, I was the bad person, I didn't do well. It's always easier to blame other people. It's human nature. And as long as you have that human nature, you will not improve. You will keep on doing the same thing over and over and over again and keep on getting the same results over and over and over and over and over and over again.
You need to listen to your intuition. If you feel like you're being interviewed for a job rather than being pursued as a man, you probably are. If the timeline feels rushed, if she's talking about kids on the third date, that's not love. That's a woman trying to beat the clock. Don't let your own loneliness or your desire to be a provider blind you to the reality of the situation. You deserve to be someone's first choice, not their last resort. You deserve a woman whose eyes light up when you walk into the room, not a woman who looks at you and sees a 401k and a sperm donor. The I'm ready now phase is often just a graceful way of saying, I'm tired of being alone and my options are disappearing. It's a survival strategy. I'm not saying this to make you hate women. I love women. I want women to be happy. But I want us to live in reality. We've sold women a lie that they can behave like men for 15 years and then just pivot into a traditional life without any emotional or biological consequences. It's a lie that ruins lives, both women's and the men they eventually.
Yeah, I'm going to stop this here and I'll put the full link so you can watch the video. And she's right. There are consequences. There are biological consequences. There are emotional consequences. There can also be psychological consequences as well for the women and for the men they settle for, because you're going into a long-time relationship and marriage with the wrong intentions. You are there because your time is running out. You're not there because you believe the man is the best option. So you're not doing yourself a good service. You're also not doing that man a good service, and you wonder why it didn't work out. The intentions in the beginning was wrong. So I'm going to leave this one here for today. Like I said, I'll put the link in the description below. Thank you very much, and I'll see you as usual in the next one.